In response to IDubbbz' recent apology video he dropped, there's been a lot of negativity, but also positivity at the same time. It's been pretty divided, as I've said in previous videos, but he decided to make another statement on the topic, dropping a tweet to what I assume all the negative replies to his recent video. He says, "I welcome opinions about my apology from people and communities whom the apologies were directed at, and that is where my care starts and ends," which is just a passive-aggressive ass way to tell a whole bunch of like commentary YouTubers like me or anyone who shares a negative opinion about his apology to fuck off. It's just a passive-aggressive way to say that. But what he doesn't realize is that he's self-owned so hard. IDubbbz, do you really care about the opinions of those you apologize to, like people in your past content cops, Tanamangu, Leafy is here, Keemstar? Or do you just care about the ones who politically agree with you and also have positive reception to your video? Because I guarantee you that you don't give a about Leafy's recent response to your apology, where he was shitting on you and calling you a dipshit, and also Keemstar's. I doubt you care about their opinion of you and your recent video, because you don't politically align with them, and also, they don't agree with your recent video. So IDubbbz just continues to make himself look like a dumbass, where realistically, all he cares about is the communities like black people, minorities, Tanamangu, because they accepted his apology and they agree with him. That's the only reason. He only cares about people who agree with him. And funny enough, Willie Mac Show, fellow commentary YouTuber, responds to this in replies saying, "Leafy doesn't accept, GG, try again." And he gets blocked. And he gets blocked by IDubbbz. And also, just a reminder, Leafy has been blocked by IDubbbz for months. So this just goes to show even further how hollow this recent video from IDubbbz is. And recently, big streamer Asmongold dropped a really good take on this too, which I didn't think of, but is so true.
I think this is the problem that a lot of people have with an apology video like this. The reason why is that I don't think that it's a coincidence that everybody started to grow a conscience at the same time. I think the reason why you don't see really edgy content like the original IDubbbz content anymore is because it's not monetizable. And if it wasn't for that, you would still have people saying the N-word. You would still have people saying all kinds of crazy shit. So I think any sort of apology for this kind of stuff rings kind of hollow whenever you realize that everybody somehow became socially aware at the coincidental same time that brands and sponsorships came into the space.
This is so real and such a good take, because IDubbbz back in 2016, 2017, when it was marketable and when it was popular, he engaged in all the edgy humor. He engaged in all the N-word, slur saying, anything, when it was profitable and also popular, and he could grow a fan base off of it. And now, coincidentally, 6 or so years later, he has this come to Jesus moment that's not cool anymore, guys. Being edgy is not cool, and overall, just being mean to people online, that's not cool anymore. And sure, a lot of people say that IDubbbz just grew up, but it's not like he was a 19-year-old back in 2016. He was still 27, 28 when he did all this. He didn't suddenly have this big gradual grow up session. I mean, it's fucking like 25, 26, 27 to what? He's 32 now? Like, come on, you're still a grown adult in this entire time. And XQC also dropped his take, which was good as well.
Guys, I had a philosophical take about it. Because I zoomed out and I realized that if that's something that you need from people, then you should have every creator apologize for almost all of their videos that were uploaded in the times of 2012 to 2020. Pretty much, almost all the uploads, all the old skits, and you want them to apologize for every single one of their videos, all of them.
Exactly, and that's been the main critique I, and even people like Moist Critical, have had from the start, from the beginning. It's never been IDubbbz can't change. It's that this apology was so over the top and obnoxious and self-flogging yourself for all the crimes and racism you've done in your past. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. There's a reason that you don't see everyone doing this, because it's over the top, obnoxious, and overall was just unnecessary. And it's not like IDubbbz was so over the top from other people in that time frame that XQC was talking about. As we've seen multiple times in this horrible recent discourse, is that people just reduce and completely rewrite history, that IDubbbz's old content was just spamming slurs over and over again, when 90% of it was absolutely not the case at all, if not 98% of it. And as we saw in last video, people like Hassan on saying he was giving people the tools and arguments to go out and say the N-word to people, which was absolutely not the case. As I've said, he pointed out hypocrisy. That's strictly all, but I've already covered that. But something also that was just sad to see on Twitter is that I made this tweet saying, crazy how IDubbbz immediately accepted Tana's offer to hop on her shitty podcast, but ignored Colossal is Crazies. Just disappointing, man. Which, if you guys aren't familiar, Colossal is Crazy is an old commentary channel that him and IDubbbz used to make videos on together in the same time frame, and used to be like decent acquaintances. I don't know exactly their relationship, but they made similar content. They were in contact in the past, I know. And yet he ignores that offer, but takes up fucking Tana's, because do you know why? Tana agreed with him. And it's good PR for him to go on Tana's podcast, just licking the feet and getting on his hands and knees, apologizing for how much harm he's done to her in person. She says, canceled podcast as soon as possible. Crazy times. Wonder if he'd ever come on. I have a lot to say. Definitely never thought this would happen. And he responds, I would, exclamation mark. Yet, when Colossal puts out this tweet, IDubbbz, be the first guest on our podcast. We're the same age and we made the same content. It'll be an interesting conversation, and I will be harsh but fair. Your channel, my channel, our podcast, I don't really care. Let me know. And of course, ignored. And also, this is the podcast that Colossal is Crazy has with creators like Pyrocynical, who was in a very similar situation to IDubbbz, but handled it so much better, where he used to make edgy content in the past, extremely edgy, but over time, he didn't make some shitty apology video or anything announcing his faults of the past. He just gradually changed his content and changed his audience over time, gradually and smoothly, as you should, and what IDubbbz should have done. It's so interesting that he wouldn't go on that podcast to see the juxtaposition of how two different people handled the same situation. And also, real quick, I saw this horrible fucking tweet that almost feels like a psyop, where there was this one guy on Twitter who said this in response to the recent IDubbbz discourse. I'll be one of the first to admit IDubbbz was one of the main reasons I fell into the alt-right pipeline, and ended up getting suspended for school for how out of pocket and bigoted I was. Anyone who thinks IDubbbz did not have a serious negative effect on youth is simply wrong. When I was 14, 5 to 6 years ago, I would casually say every slur in the book, actively name call fellow minority students, and more. Dude, it's not IDubbbz's fault that you went around calling black people the N-word back in the day, dipshit. Take some kind of self-accountability. I watched the same videos. I was a huge fan of IDubbbz. Did I ever go around calling my black friends or any minority the N-word or slurs? Absolutely not, because that's insane behavior. This is just you, dude. This isn't anyone else. Nick Diorio had a good tweet on this saying, if you're citing a content cop as your excuse for harassing black kids at school, you're delusional and looking for someone else to blame for your own actions. Like, if you saw the Tana content cop and heard IDubbbz's argument of all are okay or none are okay, and took away from that you should go around calling black people or minorities slurs, you're fucking retarded. That's no one else's fault but your own, and probably your parents. But yeah, hopefully this is the last video on this whole IDubbbz discourse, because this is just depressing to keep covering, and there's really not much more to say. So yeah, see you guys next time tomorrow, and peace.